Okay, we are live. So, good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. here on the East Coast. I am Laquita Joseph of Copper Penny Coaching. I am a relationship coach. So, I help couples build a solid foundation in their marriage that is flourishing and loving. So I am happy that you have joined me here tonight, and I just want to say thank you for all of the love and support that I have received week over week. I've been so excited to come and meet you all here and to enjoy just dialoguing, and I guess it's not dialogue if you're not able to talk back, but able to kind of just give you some content, some things that will help you in your marriage. If you're struggling or if you're having a good time in the marriage, I think there's still nuggets that you can take away. So tonight, let's jump into it. Tonight, we are talking about how to get through a deadlock situation in your marriage. So basically, a deadlock is where, the two of you cannot move beyond. It's like you're stuck. One spouse has a position and the other one has an opposing position on a particular situation. And so in that case, you are just deadlocked. You can't come to an agreement on it. It's causing a lot of strife in a relationship. So in this case, spouses both believe that, one of you is right and one of you is wrong. And then really, if you're at a real deadlock in the relationship, one may even see the other one as basically being the villain in the relationship, like it's really all their fault. It's them. So I see some fans out there. Hey, Rhonda, glad to see you. Yay. But yes, so, you may see one as being a villain. Basically, neither of you will take the time to try to listen and understand the other's position. And it's just a perpetual cycle of arguing and feelings of one being right and the other one being wrong. That is what happens in a deadlock. Good evening, Ruby. Glad to see you out there. Love you. So tonight, I'm going to cover a few things about being in a deadlock. So one being, I'm going to talk about some samples or examples of deadlock issues. Also, I'm going to talk about 4 characteristics of being in a deadlock. How do you know that your relationship or your marriage is in a deadlock on a particular situation? Then I'm going to talk about how do you cope with being in the deadlock, and then how do you navigate your way out of the deadlock? I think that's probably the most important thing, because most people want to be able to get out of the deadlock. You want to come to a conclusion or resolution with your spouse, and you want the two of you to be on the same page, and you don't want to be arguing and fighting all the time about this issue. All right? So, okay. So the first thing, examples of deadlock issues that some couples have faced. I'm sure some of you out there probably have some others. I'll ask you to drop down some that you have. So first I see Ruby says that's her. Okay, she got some issues, some deadlock issue that you just can't let go of. Okay, I want you to drop it in the comment line. I want to hear what that is. So definitely. So I see I have a question from Rhonda who says, what do we do when the deadlock is unable to have a resolution? Well, we're going to get there, okay? So we're going to get there tonight, so just stay tuned. We're going to talk about that also. So some issues are, for example, one of you want to have children, the other one does not. That can be a big deal. That's a big deadlock, right? So people get upset about that. Maybe it was something that was communicated in the relationship before or early on before the marriage, or maybe it had been communicated, but maybe one spouse wasn't honest and truthful about their true feelings about that. And now that they're married, they're feeling a different way about it. Another example of being in a deadlock is that maybe one of the spouses is big on church, right? They attend church and they want their spouse to attend church with them. In a lot of cases, it's usually the woman who's pulling the man along, but it doesn't have to be. But in most cases, that's the case. The female, the woman, is pulling the man to church. She wants him to come to church, attend church with her, but he might be an atheist. What about that? Or he just don't believe in God, or he doesn't trust the church. You know, we hear that a lot. You know, a lot of people don't trust the church, or they don't trust the pastor or the people in the church. So that can cause an issue. So that can be a thing of deadlock if that's what she really wants. She really wants him to be there. She wants him to be with her so they can be as a couple, as a unit when they're going into church. Another example of a deadlock is one of you may just enjoy being at home. You might be the homebody, and the other one may like to party and go out and have a good time, you know, and that just may not sit well with the other one. The one that wants to sit at home, you know, probably does not like the fact that you're out, going out, hanging out with friends and other people all the time, and vice versa. The person who goes out probably thinks you're like a fuddy-dud. Y'all don't know about that word, right? Fuddy-dud. Think you're a fuddy-dud. And therefore thinks, okay, they're so, you know, lame. They just stay at home. They don't do anything. So now you're constantly at odds whenever the time comes up where, say, that person who enjoys going out is ready to go out. So those are some things of deadlocks. So I just want to know, what type of deadlocks have you been in? Can you tell me? Type it in the comments. I want to hear. I want to see what other issues. So I know Ruby says that she is the culprit in her relationship. So I want you to tell me, what is it that that you're deadlocked on? Like, what can you not let go of? You're not going to give in. What is that thing? What's that situation? Tell me. Also, Rhonda, do you have anything? There's some more people out there. Do you all have anything? Hey, Marquita, the question right now is for you to put in the comments what type of things you are deadlocked on with your spouse. What are you deadlocked on with your spouse? What can you guys not come to terms on? Don't be shy. Y'all can type. Y'all don't want to say? Tell me. Don't be shy. Okay, let's see what I have here. I always stop talking when I know I am right, but the other person does not and tries to convince me that I'm wrong. So I guess let me make sure I'm understanding this, you're deadlocked. So there's a situation, you're having a situation, and so you just stop. So basically what it sounds like to me, this is the way that you handle a deadlock. So when you're like in a disagreement, basically you just stop talking. You know you're right, but you just stop talking. But the other person still wants to try to convince you that you're wrong. I guess that's the way you deal with it. Okay, got it. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Well, okay, I see Rhonda says yes. All right, I'm on the spot on. Okay, so first of all, if you can't find a way to deal with your irreconcilable differences, then it results in a deadlock. That's basically what a deadlock is that you cannot find a way to deal with your irreconcilable differences. So, okay, I see Ruby put here, I cannot just be quiet. I'm going to have the last word, okay? So in terms of you're in a deadlock, you're not going to give it up, and you're just going to keep having the last word, even though it might not be resolved at the end of the day. Okay, I hear you. So in a deadlock, right? So what happens is neither spouse can make headway in getting the other to understand and respect their perspective. So like Ruby just said, put in the comment line, she can't let it go. She's going to keep trying. So her approach is she going to keep trying to convince them, even though they're still not listening. Because at the end of the day, they're not listening to what you're saying, or they're not trying to understand your position or respect it or anything like that, and they definitely will not agree with it. So that's what happens in a deadlock. They're not trying to hear it. They don't care. You can keep talking. I know you don't want to hear this, but you're gonna keep talking. They don't care. They're gonna keep ignoring it. So and then of course when this happens though, it becomes more deeply rooted, and then it can make the situation where you cannot compromise. So when it gets so bad where you're dealing with a situation where you're deadlocked on, then it's impossible for you to compromise. You just can't do it. So, some of those examples, like what I just talked about with deadlock issues, those things, those are big issues. Like you hear those topics and you're like, okay, I can see how a couple could be in a deadlock over that. But I also want to make it clear that sometimes couples are in a deadlock, and it doesn't have to be anything even that monumental at all. They can be in a deadlock for things that you might think is just ridiculous. Like you don't even understand why they even talking about this, right? As a couple, and especially if you're on the outside looking in, you're looking at this thinking, I don't even know what they're talking about. Why are they arguing? Some stuff is like, some people can get hung up on the other person being on time. Like that could be their pet peeve. You hear people say that's my pet peeve. I can't stand it. Or that person, he's always late, and everything we do, he's late for it. She late for it. Take her all day to get ready, to get dressed, and then we're always late for something. So sometimes that can be a pet peeve. It can drive people nutty and batty. But you could be on a deadlock because in the other person's mind, they probably feel like I'm just right on time. Yeah, the clock says this, but I got there in enough time that I saw this happen. They feel like they didn't miss anything by not being there at the prescribed time, right? They ain't missed nothing. They just like, okay, I made it though. So they're okay with it. They're never going to see that. Also, some people argue over stuff that's simple, like how you fold up the napkins or how you fold clothes. Like they have a particular way that things need to be done, and they like it to be done that way. And they can really get hung up and irritated, and it can be a big deal to them. But to us, it'd be like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. And I'll say, I like clothes to be folded a certain way. I do. So I do have that issue, but not to the extent that we would be in a deadlock about it, because over time I've learned how to just deal with it. And so like if I want my husband to fold the clothes, then I've learned to accept the way that he folds them and move on. Now in some cases I might be right behind him refolding it, but that's just if I have the time to do that. And of course it kind of defeats the purpose of having him help with it, right? Because otherwise I should just did it all by myself. So, those are things you have to consider, like some stuff is just not worth it. So, but regardless of whether the issue is a big issue or whether it's a small issue that seems really petty or seems really silly or something like that, there are always 4 characteristics that you are in a deadlock. Hey, Edwina, thanks for joining. I see. Hopefully you doing. Oh, are you doing a watch party tonight? I don't know. I don't see it. But anyway, thank you for joining. But anyway, there are 4 characteristics that you are in a deadlock in your relationship on a particular situation. So one is that you can continue to have the same argument over and over and over and over again, and there's still no resolution to the problem. Like y'all argue about that same thing every single time it comes up, and you don't come up with any solutions that can help either side either way. So you just keep arguing about it. The second thing is that neither of you can address the issue with any kind of humor in it, any empathy or even any affection for each other. So you can't even talk about it, right? You can't even make a joke about it, laugh about it. Sometimes you just got to laugh to keep from crying, right? Or laugh to keep from being angry and those type of things. Sometimes you need to laugh about it. But if you can't even bring yourself to even laugh at yourself or laugh at the other person or whatever the situation, or even have empathy for the other person's position or what they're feeling or what they think about it, then that's another characteristic that you are in a deadlock. The third thing is that this issue that you continue to argue about over and over and over again is making your relationship more divisive. It's pulling the two of you apart. It's causing division between the two of you. You might not even be able to have a good conversation with each other because you may just avoid talking because you're afraid maybe this issue is going to come up again. Now you're going to be arguing all over again and all those things. So it's just dividing you. And the fourth thing is compromise becomes impossible. And the reason that the compromise becomes impossible is because neither of you want to feel like that you gave in, right? That you don't want to lose. It's like a win-lose situation, same as being right and wrong. You want to be right, somebody's wrong. So you feel like, okay, I can't compromise because if I compromise, then that means they won or I gave in. And also, it's probably an emotional type of attachment too, because depending upon what the issue is, what you're discussing or having a disagreement over, or that you're deadlocked about, it could be that, it means that you're giving up something that's so important to you, to the core of your soul, to who you are, your values, your beliefs, or even your sense of self. And so because of that, you cannot allow yourself to compromise. So those are the 4 characteristics that you are actually in a deadlock. So how do you cope with it? First of all, so the first thing you want to do is you want to try to avoid even getting to a deadlock in your relationship. You don't even want to have to deal with that. And so some of the ways to cope with it is, some of the topics that I've talked about in the previous live sessions is actually practicing and stay on top of those things that I've talked about before, those particular principles and skills that you need in your marriage and your relationship, nurturing the relationship, building understanding and trust in the relationship, developing great communication skills with each other, managing conflict successfully in your relationship, and then focusing on things that you can actually solve, the issues that you can actually manage and deal with and actually solve in your marriage. Those are just some of the things that, I've talked about over the week. So if you didn't catch those, please go back. They're all here on this Facebook page, but please go back and listen and watch them, okay? Because these are the things that you need to continuously work on. Like, you don't just do it one time and walk away and it's good. That's not how it works. So you have to continuously work on it. And so if you're continuously working on those things, hopefully, because you've developed those skills, you won't find yourself in a deadlock. Another thing to do is to be alert and aware of times when you might just be missing an opportunity to meet your spouse's needs. So sometimes they want something from you. They may not outright say it, or maybe they're hinted around about it and there's some disappointment and things like that. You don't want those type of things to creep in, because those things come in and they can sneak in, and even though they seem like they're just small things, right? These are little small things. This is where things start to eat away. These small things start to eat away at the relationship, and just little by little by little. And then what happens is, when there is a big issue, you totally lose it. You totally blow up. You are in a deadlock situation because you just couldn't take one more thing, right? Just one more thing of all those small things, inconsiderate things you may think. You might feel like you were slighted, or, so that means that you really need to be spending time on the relationship. So when you find those moments where you figure, okay, maybe I kind of missed that, I didn't realize that that was a big deal to him, that meant something to him. So let me try to make that right. Let me spend time. Let me handle this situation in my marriage, because you want to do those things before you ever get to a point where you're faced with a bigger issue, and now you find yourself in a deadlock and you can't get past it. Okay? So when you manage perpetual problems, you're more likely to avoid deadlock. So you realize the issue won't go away, but you keep it from overtaking the relationship, right? So you're saying it may not go away. So this is for Rhonda. So Rhonda, this is for you. Sometimes it won't go away, but you have to learn how to manage it within the relationship and not let that issue, that situation, overtake your relationship. So you don't have to solve the problem to get beyond the deadlock. There you go. You don't have to solve the problem to get past the deadlock. You can be deadlocked, but you don't have to solve the problem that's causing the deadlock in order to get beyond the deadlock. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? But what you need to be able to acknowledge and discuss the issue without hurting each other's feelings. So don't go all in. Sometimes some of us, we go all in, we go hard, right? We just want to give it to them because we upset and they don't want to listen. They're not listening. They're not hearing our side or anything like that. So therefore, you just want to go all in. But you just got to take a step back and kind of acknowledge it. Acknowledge the situation, discuss it, and then you just got to be willing to move on without hurting each other's feelings. Okay? Doesn't mean that you feel differently about the situation, right? That may still be your position. You still feel strongly about this. But you're not saying like, okay, I'm just going to let this overtake my relationship and I'm not going to, do anything else, or we're not going to talk anymore ever again. You still want your relationship. So you have to manage that. So how to navigate your way out of a deadlock? So first of all, you need to realize, or you need to understand, that the deadlock is really a sign that each of you have hadn't that the other one isn't aware of. They may not hadn't acknowledged it, or they might just not respect it, right? So three things about the deadlock. You got to realize that it's a sign that each of you have dreams, because everybody has dreams, right? So, but it just means that these dreams that you have, the other person, one, they're not aware of that dream that you have. Two, they haven't acknowledged the dream that you have. Or three, they just outright don't respect the dream that you have. So your hopes, your aspirations, your wishes, they are part of your identity. And so they give you purpose and meaning to your life. So therefore, if you have these dreams that are deep down, deep rooted within you, and you have a spouse who, one, isn't aware of it, hasn't acknowledged it, or don't respect it, then that causes conflict, right? That causes conflict in a relationship, and now you're at an impasse with each other because you can't get beyond this because you don't understand how they don't understand how important this is to you, right? So let's talk about some of those dreams, like some of the common deep dreams. I'm going to go through a list of some here. Sense of freedom. So some of us, you want to feel free, and have that sense of freedom. You might have wanting a feeling of peace. Like your thing could be about, peace in the house, peace in everything. You may have grown up in an environment where there was no peace. You might want to explore who you are. Exploring who you are. A lot of us, come from situations that, we're not clear. We're not certain about who we are and whose we are. And so we have an identity crisis. And so we want to figure out who we are. Can we be independent, self-sufficient, all those things. Some people just are adventurers, so they want to adventure and do different things and go beyond and all that kind of stuff. Some of us have a spiritual journey. So some of us, the deep dream is about our spirituality, how we are with God or any of those things, our faith, that's one thing. Consistency with past values. So maybe there are values that you've grown up with and you want to keep those values. Those values are important to you. You see how you have benefited in your life from that. And so those things are important for you. Those dreams, that's what you dream of for your family, for your children. Some people want a sense of power. Some people just about power, they need that in their lives, their livelihood, and they have this dream of doing these things that allows them to have this power over others. Some people have dreams to get over past hurt. So there's some things that maybe have happened in your life that, were deep down in your soul that, maybe it didn't even happen to you. It could have happened to a family member. It could have happened to a friend or whatever. But it's some of the past hurts that we often carry. And sometimes we take that and we run with it. And now it becomes a dream or a passion of ours. Exploring an old part of yourself that you feel like you've lost. So in marriage, and especially after you've been married for a while, you may feel like you've lost your own identity, that you've become someone else and you want to regain that person that you once were. You feel like you were lost and you're not yourself. And so you're exploring that. Some people's dreams is just to be productive. Like people, are ambitious. They want to go getters. They have dreams to be productive and do certain things in their life. And if other people are not doing things, they may look at them as being lazy or just not doing enough and all those things. And then another one is traveling. Lots of us have dreams of traveling and going different places. Some are near, some are far. And so different people in relationships have different perspectives on that. Traveling costs money. So, different things come into play when you start talking about this is my dream to travel. So, so the key thing is that it's not bad to dream. It's not bad to have a dream. But you have to realize that it can cause problems if your spouse doesn't respect it or if you keep your dreams to yourself. You keep them hidden. You don't want to hide it. Like if this is your dream, let it be known. Let people know, like, I have a dream to do this. This is the desire, what I have for me and my family. Make sure they know and they realize that. So, because when dreams are respected, couples can navigate the situation and they can come up with ways that each of them get some of what they want. So you understand that? So even when your dreams are respected, so that's the key word, the dreams are respected, then you can navigate the situation and you can come up with ways that the both of you can get some of what you want. The next thing is when dreams are hidden, okay, then as a couple, you need to spend time talking about what is important about that with you. Like, spend some time talking about what is important about this situation and what does it mean to you. So sometimes they just don't know what it means. They don't get it. Sometimes because we're two different people, you have different perspectives. You may have grown up or experienced different things. So some of it may be foreign to them and they just really don't connect with it to understand what that really means. So therefore, you have to be willing to listen so that hidden dreams can be revealed. So you got to listen, because what you're listening for is this something that this person is really, you might hear this one topic on the surface, but deep down inside, this is deeper than just what you're talking about. It's deeper than that. What they're missing is there is something in their life that they've wanted or that they've been desiring to do in their life. And therefore, this thing that you keep arguing about, keep going through, and you keep denying them of, is hindering them from being able to achieve that or to move forward or to do that or experience it. So again, you have to listen so that the dreams can be revealed. Now, in this case, some couples, you might need a mediator, you might need a coach or someone to kind of help you through that process, because if you're arguing all the time, you're not taking time to listen and to hear the other person. So you need someone that's going to mediate so that each person can be heard, so that you can really talk about and express your situation, express and open up about what's important to you. Talk about it. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared to reveal what is going on inside of you, what is true, because you're dealing with your spouse. This is a person that you have committed to live the rest of your life with. So there shouldn't be an issue with you communicating your deep dreams with them. So the key to couples ending a deadlock is to discuss openly why their position is so important to them, to open up about the history behind their position and what it means to them. Because there is something in that situation that they're not saying to you outright. They're not saying it outright, but there is something more, because when you get into a deadlock and you are so dead set on it, there is something more that's going on that's causing you to feel like you cannot let this go. Like you will not give in, you cannot do it. And so you have to talk about it. So then it gives that other person an opportunity to really hear what that means to you, and then have understanding of why this is so important. And also do the vice versa, right? So the other person also can talk about why their position on this topic is important to them also. So the two of you can have the understanding about why each of you are feeling the way you're feeling about this, and why you cannot drop it, why you cannot let it go, what value is it breaking, what belief that it's killing for you, what dream is it killing for you. So when you are able to sit back and listen and hear the other side of the situation, this helps to diffuse the issue, and it increases the intimacy that you have in the relationship and the connection. Because if you recall, I talked about communication, right? And when you're able to have deep conversation with your spouse, it creates a level of intimacy. So if you've been in a relationship for any amount of time, you know that if a person just really gives you all the things that are on the surface and they never allow you inside, and people can tell when they are getting the inside, getting the deep parts of a person, otherwise they feel disconnected. They don't feel like they know them as deeply. But when someone lets you in, it just builds that level of intimacy and connection in the relationship. So getting to a point where you and your spouse can break through a deadlock takes time. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. Nope. Nothing happens overnight, right? It takes time. I will say, it may take several discussions and several times talking through this, because on the first go around, the other person may reveal some things, but they may not reveal everything. So it's more dialogue and more conversations where they start to become comfortable, because what they need also is to trust that you are listening. One, you're listening to what they're saying, and you're listening for understanding, and that you're taking it seriously, and that you are respecting them as a person and respecting their position. And once they can realize that you are respecting their position, they'll open up even more. And as they open up, they'll reveal to you even more about the situation, about the issue, and why it's so important to them and why it's causing you all problems in the relationship. And then the other person can do the exact same thing. So then you come back and you find out, okay, maybe we don't have to do it just this way. Then you can find a compromise. Because then once you have full understanding of what's behind it, now you can come to a common ground. You can say, okay, well, how about we take this part and we do this for you, and then I'm going to do this right here, and then this is a great compromise for us. You have to get to that point, but it does take time to come to a place of understanding and compromise. Okay? So the takeaway, well, first, before the takeaway, I want to say it again. The issue may never be resolved, Rhonda. It may never be resolved, but you learn how to manage it in your marriage. It may not go away. The point is not for you to always resolve the problem, because sometimes you just can't. Sometimes that is so big that it can't be resolved. But you do want to come to a common ground of understanding of each other's position enough that you can respect their position and you can find a common ground, a way that you can deal with it, even if it means that you laugh about it. You know, maybe you're more affectionate towards each other because now you understand what this really means to this person, you know, and you can have that empathy for them in this particular situation. So by all means. So the takeaway is practice discovering each other's hidden dreams. Communicate, talk to each other. Practice discovering the hidden dreams, because when you discover those hidden dreams, that's when you can open up. You're building more intimacy in the relationship. You're building more connection in the relationship. You are avoiding deadlock in the relationship. In some cases, you may get rid of a deadlock in the relationship. So by all means, practice this. Practice discovering hidden dreams. So therefore, you know your spouse. You know what makes them tick. You know what things and values are really deeply rooted and important to them. And maybe something's going to pop up, because, you know, it doesn't mean that new things won't come up. Something will pop up that person never realized was a deep, hidden, rooted dream. But then you have the skills to deal with it. You know, okay, what's going on with this? You know, all of a sudden they start acting crazy about something and you're like, I don't even know where this came from, right? You're like, where did this come from out the blue? Sit down. You need to talk about it. Listen to them. Let them talk it through. Because then you can discover what the hidden dream is within them, and now you can better deal with the situation and avoid a deadlock. Okay? So I want to say thank you. That's it for tonight. I am Laquita Joseph of Copper Penny Coaching. I'm here on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m., so please come out and join me. I will say for the next 2 weeks, we will be away, so I will not be on the live, but I will see you in 2021. All right, good night. Thank you all for joining me. I'm so happy to see y'all. Have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year if I don't see you. Bye.